Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be explaining some of the details or some of the questions that my viewers or even through email they have asked me the question regarding about the Uni Fan controllers and the Strimer Plus controllers itself. Are they usable, as in like can the SL fans connect to the AL controller or even the SL Infinity controller itself? And same goes to the AL, whether it can plug to the SL controller or the SL Infinity controller, and vice versa on the SL Infinity itself. Same goes to the V1 and the V2 Strimer Plus, which has their own individual controller. Also, at the meantime, I will show you how I installed the L-Connect 3 application to make all this work. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Lian Li to have provided all this equipment for me. Thank you very much. And for those of you who are curious about the individual products itself, I've done a lot of videos regarding about this products that you've seen over here. If you're interested to know, I've leave the URL on my top right hand corner. Where you click it, it will show you a whole list of all the individual products. Let's begin. I will start off with the Uni Fans. On my left, these are the SL Uni Fans with its own controller, the AL fans itself with its own controller again, and the SL Infinity with its own controller. Now, how do I distinguish which controller is to which Uni Fan? On the controller itself, you will see there's a marking. Like for example, this is SL Infinity. So this is the controller for your SL Infinity fans. And on the AL itself, the controller will have a marking as AL. Now for SL fans itself, there are two versions. One is the older version, one is the newer version. I'm having the older version whereby it does not have a marking SL. But if you have a latest version or a newer version, you will have a SL marking over here. Question coming from my comments and through email, people have been asking, am I able to control the SL fans if I plug the SL fans on the AL controller, or vice versa to any of the fans? You can, but I wouldn't advise you guys to do so. I would prefer you to stick with the controller provided with each individual Uni fans. For example, the SL controller, make sure you make use of the SL fans, and for AL controller, make use of the AL fans. Same goes to the SL Infinity. Reason being, each of this controller contains an IC chip that controls the ARGB effects on each fans. So imagine if you were to plug the AL fans, whereby the AL controller has, let's say, 4 ARGB settings, and for the SL you have only 2. So if you do plug the AL onto the SL controller, you'll be only able to control 2 effects, which is actually at the side on the SL. Imagine that you plug the AL to the SL controller. When you do the effects on the L-Connect itself, you will only respond on the effects, which is on the sides, that's all. So if you want to go accordingly to the effects on the L-Connect, make sure you plug the individual controller to each individual fans and not interchangeable. Anyway, that's not advisable. Before beginning on explaining how to control the RPMs and the ARGB effects on each individual fans, I would advise all of you to get the 3-pack set whereby it comes with the controller. It's much safer to operate with a controller, which I'll explain later. Now there are 2 methods of controlling the RPMs and the ARGB effects on all these fans itself through the controller. First is to use the L-Connect application, be it L-Connect 2 or L-Connect 3. You can make use of that to control the individual fans itself. And next, you can bypass the L-Connect application and to make use of your motherboard utility, but of course with the controllers. Now I'll first start off with the L-Connect itself and what are the connections that you need in order to control the fans RPM and ARGB. Now for all these controllers that you see over here, they have a standard set of cables which functions the same. Now, be it SL, AL, and SL Infinity, you will always have this cable, the first cable, which is the ARGB cable and the fan connector, which over here you will be seeing. See, all this have this. This is meant for you to bypass L-Connect 3 application and to make use of your motherboard application to control the ARGB effects and the RPM. If you do not choose to use your motherboard utility to control these fans, right, you don't have to plug this at all. As for L-Connect 3, again, the standard cables are the same on this 3 controller. You'll be provided with a USB cable and a SATA source cable. This is for you to draw power directly to your PSU and to provide to the controller, and your fan ARGB LED LEDs and the fan motor itself, right, is drawing power from the controller and not your motherboard. Same goes to the AL and the SL Infinity, but for the SL Infinity it's slightly different because it draws more power, so make sure you connect 2 SATA source from your PSU to this 2 connector, and this is not detachable as compared to the AL and the SL itself. And it does come with a USB connector, which all this controller comes with it, and this is whereby you connect one end to your motherboard and the other end to your controller. This will allow L-Connect 3 to communicate to your controller and to command your fans on the ARGB effects and also the RPM spinning speed. These are the Strimer Plus, the 24 pin, V1 and V2. What's the difference? Based on the build itself, the V1 are very stiff, they are not flexible as compared to the V2. See, this is very flexible. And of course, there are LED at the side. Now, for V2 itself, with the V2 controller that comes with it when you purchase the 24 pin, this allows you to direct connect to the controller and the controller to your motherboard, whereby you make use of the L-Connect application to do all the patterns. And if you have the older version, which is the V1, this controller does not allow you to connect directly to the L-Connect 3 and to control the ARGB effects. If you want the patterns off from the L-Connect 3 itself, the effects on the Strimer Plus, and you're having the old version, right, you will need to buy the V2 controller, where you are able to connect this to the V2 controller instead of the older controller. In this section, I will illustrate to you on how to do the proper connection, because some of you have encountered problems like you have plugged multiple of controllers. For example, you have 2 AL controllers, 2 SL controller together with the Strimer Plus, and why is the ARGB effect flickering or not even lighting up the ARGBs on the fans or the Strimer Plus itself. Now, before I do so, right, for those of you who are actually new, welcome to my channel, and if you do like my content, do remember to subscribe. And for those of you who have been coming back to watch and have not subscribed, kindly do so. This will help my channel. Now, speaking of which, imagine that you have 2 controllers or more than 2 controllers, for example the Strimer Plus and 2 additional for your Uni Fans. Now, I know it comes with all this SATA connectors whereby it draws power from the PSU itself. A lot have done a wrong incorrect method whereby you have one single rail and you connect all this to one single rail. Now, what does this cause if you do not have a power supply? So imagine that this power supply here, this cable over here, coming from the PSU, this cable. Okay, maybe I should illustrate over here. So if you were to connect all the controllers to this connectors over here, so the power drawn, as each controller will draw the power. So imagine this is the flow of water. If you do have both tap closed, right, and open one tap, yep, the water flow will be strong. If you continue on to open the second tap, the water pressure over at the top here will be lesser, and goes on and on. So if you do open up 4 of the taps itself, right, all the water pressure will be shed and it will be of less pressure. So coming to electrical current is the same thing. If you do draw only one current from this connector itself, right, it's going to be pretty strong. But if you're going to share out all this, it might not sustain the electrical current where you draw, where the controller draws. So do not do this. This will cause flickering of the ARGB, or even not even turning up the ARGB itself, or having intermittence between the controller where you connect the USB to your motherboard itself. That will cause disconnection. So in order for you to prevent that, right, if your power supply allows you to have two separate rails like what I'm having over here. Split all this evenly. For example, let's say you have, okay, probably what you can do is the first channel, right? You can just connect two controllers, be it your SL or AL. You have two, so you will have an equal, or should I say battle drawing current. Let's say you plug this to 2 on your PSU itself and the other two on a separate rail, which is over here. Let's say I would plug over here. So this will prevent you from having what they call undercurrent, whereby all the controllers is fighting for power drawn that causes the intermittence of your connection point, your USB connector, and the fan ARGB to flicker. So if you do this split, right, you have even current flowing to your controllers, so that will secure the current flow and the connection, and to provide ample current to your Uni Fans. Next, we'll be connecting the USB cable to the controller, and this will go to the motherboard itself. But the problem right now is if you have too much controller, right, as in like right now, let's say you have 4 controllers, you have total of 4 USB connectors to be connected to your motherboard, and my motherboard only has 2 USB header. So what will you do then? Probably you might suggest that, oh, have a splitter and to connect. Yes, it will work, but I would advise you to get a hub, or should I say a USB hub splitter that comes with a power source, so that there will be ample power to power this up, and you can connect all the USB connector from your controller to here. See, you can connect up to 4. Then from there, right, this hub itself has 1 USB connector, which I repeat again, you need to have this power up. Make sure you connect this to your PSU, which I'm going to do it right now. So make sure all this are power up, so that the power taxing is not on the motherboard, it's actually on the hub itself. So that's the reason why I've advised to make use of this splitter hub, whereby you have a self-powered SATA cable to the hub. Then from here you can connect this to your motherboard, which is like this. So with one from the motherboard header to this splitter, and you can control 4 controllers, and all this are power up by itself using the PSU SATA source to connect to each of this controller. Once you have actually connected all the power source and the USB connection, you will start to connect all the fans, all the Uni Fans and the Strimer Plus strips, be it the 8-pin, dual 8-pin or the 24-pin. Now, if you want to know how I did all the connection, there are various videos of individual products as I mentioned earlier on. You can click on the top right hand corner, whereby I will show you the URL. You can have a look over there. For this demonstration, right, I'll be using the L-Connect tree, and a lot have been asking me, how come I always, do with succession and such? The reason is I do not connect all the devices in one go. If I have multiple controllers, what I'll do is I will only leave one, which I'm going to disconnect all this. I will only leave one, and I will install the L-Connect. Let me show you on the dashboard itself. I've booted up my system, as you can see over here. Now you'll be seeing 2 windows over here because I have the main system over here, and this is the one that I'm installing the L-Connect tree. Let me just open it up. Now as you can see, I've only connected to one device, which is my AL controller. The first thing you will need to do to check is to go down to your device manager. Then make sure there are no exclamation marks over here. Then click under Universal Serial Bus Devices, right below the controllers. You will have this Lian Li Uni Fan AL, which I mentioned to you. I've connected to my AL controller. Now, assuming that you have no exclamation mark here, but do not stop here, what I normally do is I will head down to the AMD website to download the chipset driver for my X570. Now let me just go back to the main page. Now what I meant by chipset itself, because it does control all the USB connectors over here and such, so you wouldn't want to have a older version drivers installed in Windows. You will need to have a latest chipset driver. And how do I go by doing it? If let's say this is AMD, right, I'll be heading down to AMD website. If you are going to if you have an Intel system, make sure you download the chipset from Intel itself. So this is an AMD system, as I mentioned. What you need to do is click on drivers and support, then select the chipset, and mine is a AM4 and it's a X570. So when you submit this request, you will have this download. I'm using Windows 11, so I'll be downloading this and to install this chipset. Once that's done, right, the second thing that you need to take note is that your motherboard BIOS. Now download these two applications, the CPU-Z and the Heaven. Reason for this, right, later I'll show you why do you need the CPU-Z and why do you need the Heaven benchmark. Now once you've downloaded that, right, as to check the BIOS, load the CPU-Z, go under motherboard, you will see the latest version. Now I know that my X570 Taichi does not have problems with the USB connector. And why do I say you need to update the BIOS? Take for example my current PC that I'm using is a B550 from from ASUS. When I click on the support and check on the BIOS, now scroll down and read the description itself. I know that under this BIOS, which is 2007, right, it has a fix for USB connectivity issue. So some of you might encounter issues with L-Connect that does not communicate with your controllers. This is probably one of the reasons. So do download the latest BIOS. So I have already done my latest BIOS update. Whatever that is actually above this BIOS version, right, you should be fine. Now on with installing the L-Connect tree itself. Now I'm going to download the L-Connect tree. Now before you download anything, right, read the description over here. Sometimes it might give you hints that you might need to do certain things to enable you to use the L-Connect tree. So what I'll do here, right, besides this, as you can see on your right, there are this notation whereby if you fail to upgrade the firmware on your controller using L-Connect tree, you can do it manually. So I'll be downloading the L-Connect tree, which is right now should be downloaded. It's downloaded, and I will install the L-Connect tree. Now when you run the L-Connect tree itself, right, it will prompt you to install. Just go ahead, install, and this thing will prompt up. If you want to get rid of this, right, you can, because every time when you boot up, right, this user account controller, right, will pop up. And if you find it irritating, you can just go to your, let me just click no. You can just click here, search, and look for UAC. By changing the level of this, right now it's actually here, you can change it to here. It's up to you. It's not a must. But I find it irritating that every time when I launch the application, right, let me just show you. Let's say for example I launch any of the application. Okay, let me just close this. Because every time when I launch an application, right, this will pop up. It gets very irritating. So normally what I'll do is, as mentioned to you, under the UAC itself, which you type UAC, bring this level down and click on OK. Then the next time when you reboot, right, when you launch any application, right, it will be gone. For now, the application will still prompt, so I'll just let it be. I'll just click this next, then click this next, and I'll just install, run the application, the L-Connect tree. Now with this L connect tree itself, right, you will have all this prompt, just apply. Now I'm just going to bring it up. Now under this, right, you will see that it will run all this temperature here and the GPU itself. These are the first two things that you need to take note. I would advise you to check on the settings itself and to set as auto run on boot and to minimize L connect tree to system tray, and check if there are any updates. Right now my firmware on the AL is pretty okay. I'm just going to do a check. It's on the latest. If anything that is needed to do the firmware, right, just do the firmware. Now as mentioned to you, reboot the system. I'm just going to reboot this system. Now my system is booting up. So just to make sure that the L Connect does launch. The main objective is to get L Connect running. As you can see, all this temperature over here, it should run accordingly when your CPU temperature goes up or your GPU temperature go up. That's where I ask you to install the Haven itself, and also CPU Z to do the benchmark, so that this will show you the temperature. Now I'm just going to expand this and I'm going to run the... Okay, take note on the temperature of the GPU itself is 42 degrees Celsius. So when I run this, right, it should increase the temperature. And this does tell you the temperature of the GPU, 43 degrees. So when I run it, right, see, it goes 51 and above. It's following. Make sure that it follows. So you know that this is functioning. The L connect tree is functioning. And this is very important, because without this temperature readings itself, right, later on when you want to control the fan RPMs and such, right, you will have some difficulties. So make sure you get this done. Next thing is to test on the CPU itself. I'm just going to launch this CPU Z and do a simple bench, and I'll just do a stress. See, taking a look at the temperature of the CPU itself, see, it goes 71 degrees and it follows. See? So once you know that this is working, it's time for you... Okay, let me just stop all this. Once you know this is done, right, it's time for you to connect the rest of the controllers and make sure that they are listed over here. Right now there's only L connect, which is the AL controller. So I'll be right back. I've connected all the controllers to the USB hub and to my motherboard. As you can see here on L Connect itself, it's listed. And when I check on the updates under settings, updates, I can see that there are 2 firmwares needed to update. In such event itself, right, a trick to it, I know that a lot will just download and install having all the controllers connected. Now, do take note, as I mentioned to you, that when you connect all the devices together, right, it will be listed on your device manager. Now, not to implicate more conflicts and such, because there might be a chance that you might detect the wrong device, and when you do the firmware, right, it will give you a failure, and whereby you will prick your device. I would advise you at this moment of time, right, if you see there are firmware needed on L Connect itself, I would disconnect the rest except for one. Let's say, for example, I need to upgrade the SL firmware. I would unplug the AL Connect controller, the SL Infinity controller, and the Strimer Plus controller. I will do that. Once that's done, right, I will continue to do the SL firmware. I've rebooted my system. The reason being, right, I shut down the system and to unplug all the rest of the connection. Always unplug the connection, the USB connection or power connection, when the system is fully shut or fully shut down. Then right now I've unplugged all the rest of the controller except for the SL. As you can see over here, I have booted up and it only show only one. Then from there, download and install. And I'll just update and I'll let it update. While it's updating, right, I will go to the device manager and to check, make sure that everything is alright. So under this universal serial bus devices, I have the SL fans here, and over here is doing the firmware. Once the firmware is completed, you will list over here, do another check. See, it's on the latest version. And also check on your device manager. Now, for some reason, though the L-Connect version over here, the firmware is 1.8, on your device manager, it's listed at 1.2. It's perfectly alright, not to worry. So long you can see the device is good enough. Then you reboot the system and connect to the rest of the controllers. I've rebooted my system and back to L-Connect. As you can see, all my devices over here, they are all connected, or should I say all the controllers, and all are listed with the SL, AL, SL Infinity and the Strimer Plus. Now in the event, as I mentioned, if you have such thing whereby you need to update the firmware, I've shut down the machine itself and to connect all the controllers on the USB connection, and when I load it up, this is what I see under updates of L-Connect 3. Now I've actually skipped the part on SL Infinity when I did the firmware, and just a reminder, if you want to do a firmware on that particular device itself, right, on the controller, make sure you disconnect the rest of the controllers and just leaving only one. Your successful rate will be higher. Once you have actually done that, right, you can plug back all the device and to reboot the system, and this will show up all the latest version. This is at the initial start. So once this is running, right, as time goes by where there are no new firmware updates, you can just update directly. So this is just a synchronization of all the IRQ address with your controller. Now as you can see over here, I've actually connected all the devices on my lower left, the SL, the AL, the SL Infinity and the Strimer Plus. Now, due to the space constraint, I can only show you this much, but nevertheless, I have no problems with L-Connect to control all different devices in one go. Just an illustration, for example, let's say the fan and pump. As you can see over here, these are all the AL, the SL, and the SL Infinity. Starting off with the AL itself at the center, which is here. Now, if I am going to set to, let's say, high speed, take a look at the RPMs over here. When I apply, see, it will just ramp up. As you can see, it's ramping up. Not an issue. So individually, I can control, not a problem. Let's say, for example, this SL control, SL Infinity, which is the last section over here. Now take a look at the RPM over here. If I were to set it to this, and now to apply, see, it follows the CPU and you just follow the RPM. And if I were to go GPU itself, right, if I were to toggle this and apply, see, look at the RPM, it follows. So be whether you are setting any other settings, right, on the individual fans, not an issue, I can control. So overall, I would say that, okay, for example, SL itself, take a look at the first fans over here. Let's say I'll do set at full speed and I'll apply. See, the RPM over here, it ramps up, it goes on full. So leaving the rest, right, accordingly to what you have set, and it's based on the temperature itself. That's the reason why I mentioned that if you want to control the RPMs of your fans using L-Connect, make sure that all these readings react when you do the benchmark. Reason being, right, as you can see, there's one green line over here. This is where it shows the temperature of the processor or the GPU itself. Then your fan curve will react upon this line. If you did not get this done at the first round, as in like there's no reaction on the temperature, forever you will not be able to control the fans and it will just ramp at high speed. And for streamers itself, As you can see over here, I can control, not a problem, wave and such. If I were to apply, see, it reacts on the screen over here, not an issue. Same goes to the rest. If I were to toggle, they will react accordingly. See, as you can see over here, it's static. Then on AL fans, I can do almost everything I want. It's actually instant without any hiccups. See, it goes, or maybe I change this to something else. Tornado, apply all. See, it reacts instantly, and I don't really have lags at all, which a lot have mentioned. So do one thing at a time. Make sure there's sufficient power, as mentioned, that all the connections that I've mentioned to you, split them up and not just connect all the controllers into one SATA rail. That will cause some issues. So if you can, split the power so that make sure that they have equal power. There you have it, sharing my knowledge with you. I hope that you will be able to troubleshoot your L-Connect application that's giving you the problem, and with devices that is not reacting, probably based on the power supplied to your L-Connect devices and to your fans. As you have witnessed, I've split them up. I've done many builds and have resolved a lot of problems coming from viewers and from my emails. All the steps that I've shared with you right here are the steps that I've done for them, and majority of them have resolved their issues. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoy what I've shared with you, and for those of you who are actually new to my channel, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, and good luck.